Okay, so part two. So if you're jumping into this fresh, prepare for a wild ride. Okay, so we just talked about Lab Rat Day. Now I'm going to talk about like the last big thing that happened, which I call BSG Day, which is Battlestar Galactica. Anyways, so on this day, on this day, I experienced my consciousness like leave my body. What I experienced was I think God came into my body and, or whatever you want to call it, it's just what I'm calling it, and displaced my consciousness. And it was actually super funny. And man, I wish we had this recorded because he came into my body. And one of the things I've learned when I channel is that unless the connection is really, really, really good, like whatever I'm channeling is limited by whatever like concepts and things that I'm aware of. So he came into my body, wasn't sure where I was at. So what's he do? He picks up the phone. It's probably like 3 a.m, or at least some other stupid hour in the morning. Calls Carl, because we know Carl's smart. It's like, Carl, guys, I just want you to imagine this. I mean, just imagine that this is a story you're watching, because I mean, this is why I want to share it, because it's so freaking hilarious. So it comes into my body, freaks out because he can't find my consciousness, calls Carl in the middle of the night, and sorry, I've got the COVID again. Put her back and leave her alone. And at one point, he tells God to go fuck off. God fucking loved that. He's like, I love Carl. Like, yeah, he went on about that for a while. Anyways, me, Carol, or whatever, the way I perceived things was it's interesting because like I was like conscious and aware, kind of like in the back of my mind. Like I remember the things that he did, and I remember most of the things that he felt. I just don't think he could feel me. But I also perceived that my consciousness was in the dynamite machine next to my bed. So it's really weird to kind of feel like it was in two places or something. Maybe it wasn't, but this is just how I perceived this experience. Anyway, so from my perception, I was in the dynamite machine, and it would make this beeping sound that was driving me crazy. So maybe that's why I had this experience. But I don't know, Battlestar Galactica is one of my favorite shows, and it had been brought up to me along with a lot of other stuff to help me understand things and the messages and stuff, because I don't really know anything about religion and stuff. I'm more of a geek, and so pop culture stuff is where I get a lot of things from. But because God, the universe, or whatever you want to call it, talks to us in lots of different ways, and generally they talk to us in the ways that are most comfortable for us, but they're talking to us like all the freaking time. It's just most people don't, like, you're just not conscious of it. But anyways, I start beeping one of the Battlestar Galactica sounds in order to let him know where I'm at. And I have this one video clip that I'll share eventually, hopefully sometime this week, because I'm kind of torn. Like, it's like, I don't know whether my OCD part of me wants to like put everything out in chronological order, but that would take forever. So I think I'm just going to drop like my favorite things. And then maybe at some point, someone will see some of my shit and realize that it's fucking gold and help me go through it. But, or at least that's the dream. I mean, if not, I'll get through it slowly. But it'd be my life's work, because I think it's that awesome. Anyways, but I have this really beautiful, like, touching clip. And I don't even know how he managed to have the fucking camera rolling when he was doing this, of him in my body, grabbing me in the dynamite machine and like kind of like hugging it and like being like, oh, Carol, I'm so sorry, Carol. You're like the old Cylon model and I'm the new Cylon model. And at some point he said, I won't let them turn you off. I didn't actually know what that meant at the time. I think I do now, though. But yeah, so my COVID hospital experience in 2020 was quite the roller coaster, and there were so many other things that happened. I mean, to stay sane, I was live streaming almost every night from the hospital. I mean, I was in rough shape, but I don't regret it. I think that's one of the things that like throws people off or whatever is people aren't used to seeing people like well, raw and authentic, and not trying to make themselves, I don't know, just not afraid to be themselves, I guess. But, so it's hard to get people to actually like listen to the actual content that's being communicated because they're distracted by the visuals and stuff. So maybe for some of my live streams, I should just strip the video and just do audio only. Maybe that would make it a little easier for people to digest. But yeah, I mean, some other interesting things that happened while I was in the hospital. My mind came on, and I swear when it came on, I felt like an engine ignited in my mind. And all of a sudden, I saw how all of the dots of my entire life connected to make me like the perfect person to be in that moment in time. And I could look at like anything and like process things. Now, did I come to the right conclusion on everything? Probably not. But man, I have very rarely, if ever, experienced my mind process things so clearly. And that was amazing. And during one of those experiences, God told me that I was on the spectrum, and that was something called a savant. I didn't know what that meant, so I had to look it up, and then I forgot about it until a few weeks ago when I was making a video talking about mental processing speeds and communication trouble. Because despite being articulate in this video, guys, I struggle with communication and processing. It's just that I kind of go through waves. Sometimes I can do it real good. Sometimes I just suck really bad. So, and I never know how long those periods are going to last. So when I am able to communicate clearly, I try to get it all out while I can, because it doesn't usually last. I keep crossing my fingers that that's going to change in the future, that I'll get it easier for me to stay in this on state, I guess. But yeah, we'll see. Anyways, yeah, and like I've got all these videos and journals and photos and stuff to go through from when I was in the hospital. And the crazy thing is when I got out of the hospital, I mean, stuff still continued to be going on for several weeks. Oh, and I should describe, I also, like, I had vision. So, I mean, I shifted realities. I had visions, experienced like my consciousness leaving my body, going to other things, something else taking control of my body, using my body or whatever. I also experienced like telepathy, intuitive knowing, visions. Sometimes the visions were like, if you imagine something in your head, but imagine that like you're not even trying to imagine something just comes to you and it like sucks you in, and all of a sudden you're awake, but you're seeing other things, and it's like a dream. I mean, and then there were a few times where it was kind of like I drifted off and started to dream, but like the dreams were like so intense and detailed, like they were not normal dreams, like they were visions. And the crazy thing is when I got out of the hospital, I felt really embarrassed about what had happened, because I like to think of myself as a humble person, and it really bothered me that I would have some sort of grandiose delusion of being like the second coming of Christ or whatever, because that's not even something I would choose for myself. Like, I mean, think of all like for lots of reasons. However, story is way too good not to share. And yeah, I let other people push their ideas and their doubts on me and cause me to doubt myself. And it's taken me a long time and a whole lot of convincing from the universe not to be so afraid to share stuff. Because, man, I got out of the hospital and wasn't on any drugs, sound of mind, despite what some of you may believe. And I've been experiencing all kinds of magic for this past year. Actually, a little longer than a year, but especially this past year. So I'm real excited to finally talk about some of that, because whatever you believe is fine. I'm tired of my voice being silenced, and I'm tired of not talking about things because y'all might find it uncomfortable. And for those of you that don't find it uncomfortable or actually interested, I could really use your support, because it is kind of scary to be that one person that speaks out about stuff, especially when you know there are other people out there going through a lot of the same things, and I even see a whole bunch of you posting subtle stuff, and and I appreciate it, but I could use the support as I take the front line to tank for you assholes. So yeah. Anyways, man, I can't wait to see what people have to say about all the stuff I'm about to drop.